Yeah, this is Rosh Chodesh. We're going to learn about Rosh Chodesh Kislev, a special month, Chodesh HaGeula, a month of miracles, a month connected to dreams, to miracles. Famously, the month that is connected to the story of Hanukkah, which is one of the great miracles. B'yam Mahim is Manazeh. In those days, in hard times, reliving the miracles, open ourselves up to the miraculous. Also, during the month of Kislev is also Yutas Kislev. So, in general, the idea of opening ourselves to the world of miracles, to the possibility of things that appear to be impossible, is through the idea of trust, betachin. That betachin, trust, we have to understand what that is, but betachin, trust, is the kli, is the vessel that allows the receiving of and opening up and to receive all the blessings that Hashem is giving us. So there's different ways how to understand the month of Kislev. In the past we've talked about different ideas about the Aragonas, the hidden light that's revealed at the end of Kislev, the 36 lights, the 36 hours, 36 Masechtas, tractates of Talmud, 36 crowns on Yaakov's coffin, 36 tzaddikim, those 36 hours in Gan Eden, 36 lights of the menorah. That's all connected to that idea of the Aragonas, the hidden light. But we want to talk about it a little bit from a different perspective. That the month of Kislev, the Sefer Yetzirah says, teaches us that the month of Kislev is connected to the letter Samach. That Cheshvan is connected to the letter Nun. Nun, we spoke about before, Nun is connected to Nefila, to fall. And Samach, Soymach Hashem L'chol HaNoifim, Hashem lifts up the fall. That Samach is connected to Soymach, to uplift, to hold up. And together, these two letters together, the Nun and the Samach, which is Cheshvan and Kislev, because Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev is one long continuation. They're the first 3 months of the fall, winter months. So Cheshvan, which is the month of Nun, connected with fall, and Kislev, which is this month that we're entering into now, which is the month of the miracles, is connected to the letter Samach, and Nun and Samach spells the word Nes. Nes means a miracle. Now, the Ari HaKadosh writes, the Arizal writes, that Nun Samach, which in numeric value is, very simply, it's 110, Nun is 50, Samach is 60. So the Ari writes that they correspond to the names of Shem Ma, which is 45. It's one of the variations of one of the ways to get to Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the letters Yud Hey and Vav Hey, when they're spelled out. There's different variations how they can be spelled. Vav can be Vav Aleph, or Hey can be Hey Aleph, or Hey Hey, or Hey Yud. So different ways they can be spelled out. And one of the ways to spell out, you get the total number is 45, which is called Shem Ma, the name which is literally translated as the name of what, which is 45, which is also the same numeric value as the word Adam, man, human. The human is connected to Shem Ma. Shem Ma is connected to the world of humanity. And Ma, together with Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is 65, the Shem Adnos, is 110. This is what Ari writes in Priyatz Chaim, Shara Kolam. This is what Ari writes. So I want to understand this a little bit, Lefi Erach, in terms of our own possibilities, to understand this a little bit, to bring it down, to understand what exactly the Ari means, at least as our understanding of this teaching is, and how it's relevant to the idea of a miracle. So a miracle is connected to the name that means Ma, which literally translated means what. That's one name. And the other name that it's connected to is Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is the name that's connected to the world of Malchus, but it also, the name is Aleph Din. that's the way the name is spelled, that it means the Aleph within the Din. Din is judgment. So it's a name that's connected to some type of concealment. It's the concealment of the name of Hashem. It's the concealment of the name of Hashem. That's why the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the way we pronounce it today, there's Nichtav and Nikra, there's the way it's written and the way it's said. And Loika Nichtav and Nikra, not the way it's written is the way it's pronounced. It's written Yud Kei Vav Kei, but it's pronounced Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, Adnai, or Adai, etc. So that's the name of the vessel, the concealment of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So these are the two names, Ma and Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. And it's somehow connected to the world of miracles. So what is a miracle? The word miracle, Nes, also is connected to the word in Hebrew for Nisayon, for a challenge. And what does a challenge do? A challenge, Nes is also Nes Lis Noises, is also connected to the idea of a flag, something that's uplifted high. That a challenge, sometimes a person goes through a difficulty, that the difficulty draws out certain types of deeper reservoirs of the person. The person is not even aware that within their own selves that they have these koiches, they have these potentials, and allows a person to show a type of resilience and tenacity that they can even rise higher. So the idea of a nes, what is a miracle? A miracle is not an external experience, it could be also, but a miracle, when we talk about it as an eternal experience, is that it lifts a person. It elevates a person. That's what the idea of the miracle is. And if it's an external idea, the idea of the miracle is to show you a possibility of a different way. That when you're stuck in a certain situation, and sometimes something miraculous happens, something extraordinary happens, what Hashem is showing you is that there's another way to look at this. There's a higher perspective, and if you dig deep enough and you push forward and you lift yourself up, that's the idea of the nun. If you can lift yourself up, you can get to the place of a nest. You can be uplifted, and you will draw out even deeper koiches, deeper potentials within you that you didn't know that you have access to. So what the nest does, it allows you to see a different perspective on the world, but ultimately and deeply, it allows you to see a different perspective of yourself. It allows you to draw out new higher levels of self. So the nest, a miracle, is connected to these two names of Ma and Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, because on one level it means that Ma is a question mark. A question mark could also mean a type of uncertainty, a lack of clarity, a type of bewilderment. The idea of a question mark is general idea of a question mark is an exile, because the information is locked away from you, therefore you question it, you have to understand. So if you're trying to understand something and you're trying to delve deeper to understand it, it means this information is still tucked away, it's still remote, it's still removed from you. So the question is a type of galus that is brought down, that brings down, and the idea of question is a general type of galus, type of exile, there's certain alienation from this information. And then that's the fall, that's the ma, and then the discovery, from coming from a place of this uncertainty and the discovery is Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. What is Aleph Dalet Nun Yud? On a simple level, the interpretation would be, where you're coming from a place of a question where you're uncertain, like where's my life heading and what's going on and why there's so many difficulties and why am I struggling with this and struggling with that. And then there comes a revelation, this type of revealing of Hashem's presence, the name of Hashem, Adonai. And that allows you to know that you're not alone and that there's a purpose. Because one of the real depths of struggle is not so much the struggle itself. Of course, that's very difficult, but the bigger part of the struggle is that the bigger part of nisayon, of a challenge, and the Baal Shem says that the idea of a challenge is that a person's, not only are they challenged, and whatever the challenge is, it could be a physical challenge, a mental challenge, emotional challenge, whatever the challenge is, but part of the challenge is that they also lose their bitachon, they also lose their trust. And when they lose their trust, they start thinking that it's random, and why is this happening to me, and why do I have to go through such a difficult time? So they lose any type of hope that they have in a general posture, the way they live their life, that they can see clarity and they can live with it, there all of a sudden there's something that's obscured, and they feel dejected, they feel alone. And Vanoichi Aster Aster, like the Torah of Baal Shem says, the teachings of Baal Shem says, that when you recognize this Anoichi Aster, that I am there in the Aster, I am there in the concealment, that's already a certain type of relief, and that's itself part of the redemptive process. So this is one way to understand the Nes. Understand the miracle, that it's connected to Shem Ma and Shem Adonai, these two names. It's when Ma is the question, and the answer, Ma is the idea of the question, the uncertainty, the lack of clarity, where you're going through difficulty and you don't see a reason why you're going through this, and you don't even have trust that it makes any sense that you should be going through this, and you lose all your madrigas, all your levels that you have, any type of spiritual understanding that you have about your life is you see the place from a distance, that you're no longer close. And then the Ness is when through this hardship you can see also the Shem Adonai, you can see the name of Hashem, and then you can break through, and a type of revelation occurs, and therefore there's certain ease that you enter, and you recognize that there's a purpose, and there's a reason for this, and I'm not alone, and Hashem is with me, and my life has purpose and meaning. But on a deeper level, it's and that brings comfort. But on a deeper level, you could say literally the opposite. That the adnos, that the ma and the adnos is not that you come from a place of ma, from a question to the place of adnos, but you come from a place of adnos, which is a type of constriction and awareness. There's a certain perception, even if it's a holy perception, but it's a certain type of certainty that you have about your life, and the question is a release from that, and that makes it even more. So you're going from Aleph Dal Nun Yud, you're going to the place of Ma. So let's try to understand what this means. So Kislev, we say generally, is connected to the idea of trust. Because Kislev, literally the word Kislev in the Torah and Tanakh, the word Kislev is connected to Hashem Kisli or Kislam. This was the idea of trust. Now, in trust itself, we have explained many times that there's two madrigas, there's two levels of trust. There's passive trust and active trust. Passive betachan and active betachan. So there's two words here. There's the word amuna, and there's a word betachan. So Amunah, for lack of better word, for lack of letter translation, Amunah generally, in the very simplistic translation, Amunah means faith. I have faith that Hashem runs the world. I have faith that there's a bigger plan. This is on a very simple level of Amunah. Obviously, the highest level of Amunah is the Baal Shem writes Amunah Yad Vekas. And what is not just this type of knowing, and not type of seeing, but it's a really inner knowing. But let's talk about this very simple level of Amunah. Amunah means I believe that I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I believe there's a Creator. I believe the Creator has a purpose. Life has meaning. This is what I have faith. This is Amunah. So what is B'tachan? What's B'tachan in this analogy? B'tachan would be the Amunah in action. So Amunah is an idea. What in the Hasidic language is, it's a or makif, it's like a surrounding idea. It doesn't necessarily permeate your consciousness. The Gemara says that even a thief, when he's about to steal, he cries out to Hashem and says, "Please help me." But he's stealing, so he's doing exactly the opposite of the will of Hashem. But it's not a contradiction, because Amunah is some type of makifim thing. It's not logical. I believe Hashem runs the world. I believe in God. What's B'tachan? B'tachan would mean it's not just a belief in my mind, but I'm living it. I'll give you an analogy of this. The difference between Amunah and B'tachan at this level would be Amunah would mean you see, let's say, a person on a tightrope. And I don't know, it's a funny analogy, but let's say a person's on a tightrope, and he's walking over the tightrope. And you know they used to go with those little bicycles? They drive over a bicycle over a tightrope. Unicycle, and at the bottom someone's holding on to the unicycle, and he's going on the tightrope. Okay, so Amunah is you're watching this performance, and you have Amunah that they're going to get to the other side. What's Bitachon? Bitachon is you're the guy holding on to the unicycle. So it's not just Amunah. I have faith that this guy is going to make it to the other side of the other side of the tightrope. But Bitachon is I'm putting my life in this other person's hands. So Bitachon is a type of Emunah in action, in reality. Emunah is the faith of the faith that I know that Hashem runs the world in my mind. Bitachon is I actually live that way. My day-to-day life is lived that way. But there's a higher level of bitachon. There's many, many levels of bitachon. There's many levels of trust. But one other way of thinking about this is like this: that bitachon is active bitachon. Active bitachon means it's not passive. It's not just I believe. I believe that Hashem runs the world. Bitachon can mean I trust that Hashem knows what He's doing. That would be like one level of bitachon. High level of bitachon means I trust that Hashem is doing it for the best. That everything is done for the best. But possibly even I have bitachon that it will be good. It will be good. You think it'll be good. Some type of idea, like the Sefer Iker writes, and it's brought out later also in Teres Hashem, that when you have faith, you have bitachon that it's going to be good. That itself draws down the goodness in this world. But then there's a type of active bitachon that you're not just having an idea that I know Hashem runs the world, I know Kodesh Baruch Hu runs the world, and I have faith in it, and I trust that it's true, but I am participating in the unfolding of this truth. That I'm actively engaged. I know that Hashem is a teva toiv leitiv, the nature of good is to give good, and I am facilitating and I am participating in the unfolding of this goodness in this world. This is what when it says that man was created lasas l'takin, that we recognize that our purpose is not just to see it, to see the world, to be a passive observer, but to participate in it. And what does that mean practically? When every situation that arises in our life, we see it as an opportunity. Everything that we have in our life is an opportunity. It's a question of what. What is the opportunity? So again, I'm going to make it a little clearer. And the first thing that we're saying is, what is the idea of a miracle? The idea of a ness means that I recognize in the struggle, in the uncertainty, in the ambiguity, in the question, I recognize that Hashem is present. And that allows me to move forward. On the deeper level, what it means is that I recognize that every situation has the Shema in it. What is the Shema, the name of Mod? It has the name. It's not just that I'm going through this, and okay, Hashem is there, and I'm good. I'm okay with it. But I know that this situation is there for me as an opportunity. I just don't know. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I know exactly what the opportunity is. But every single situation in this world that we're going through, even the most cottonous state, even the most constricted states that we're experiencing, is an opportunity to do something. Maybe you're feeling like really, verklempt, very restrictive, and your mind is not expansive, and it's late at night, and you really want to learn, and you can't. Let's say for an example of that. Okay, but there's something that you never learned because you felt like it was not so. It was like more shallow learning. Maybe it was like stories, Sipur Tzadikim, like stories of the righteous. So now's a good time to do that. Or you have to take care of bills. So why would you waste your boichin de gadlus, your expansive mind, in a place when you're feeling elated, to take care of narishkeit, or anal details? But maybe in the day there's going to be times that your mind is not working. I'm just giving an example. Your mind is not, working so strong, and you're tired. You're not that tired you have to go to sleep, but you're tired, and okay. So there's things to do. There's an opportunity. Every situation in this world presents itself with an opportunity. There's something that has to be done here. There's a ma. There's a what. There's an opening to a certain type of what that's here, and we have to find it. Even I don't like to say jokes, but I'll tell you a funny. It's not a joke. It's like a vitz. It's like an anecdote. that I heard B'Shem, one of the Chassidish Rebbe's, I forgot, maybe the Tolner, that he said that Reb Nachman says that after 120, that any person that says that Tikkun HaKlali he's going to save from Gehenna. That means any of his Chassidim, any of his followers that that are connected to him, after 120 he's going to connect. Really, Gemara says in the Eruvin about Avraham Avinu stands a Pisach Shel Gehenna and doesn't allow anyone that has a bris. But this is what Nachman says. He's going to go ahead. So the story is that there were two Chassidim. I don't know why this happened, but after 120 they found themselves in Gehenna. And one was a Lubavitcher Chassid and one was a Breslau Chassid. And the Breslau was, was waiting around. So Nachman shows up, he grabs him by his pants, and schleps him out of Gehenna. That's what Nachman promised. And then Lubavitcher Chassid is waiting for his Rebbe to show up. Finally the Rebbe shows up, and he gives him $1 and says, Bracha Vatzlacha, and you should have a lot of tzlacha in your shlichus Gehenna. So there's a shlichus. There's a reason. Hashem Etzali Gover, there's a reason that we're in every place, and we have to tap into that. We have to recognize that there's a purpose here, and there's a reason why we're experiencing this, and there's a what here. There's something that has to be gleaned, some type of lesson that can be learned, something that we can do. That even in the world, that Kislev is connected to the world of dreams. Kislev is connected to, you say that it's the Chosh Hashina, connected to sleep. And sleep is connected to dreams. And this is why all the Parshias, all the dreams of the Torah occur in these week's Parshias. All the dreams that happen with Yaakov is dreaming, and then Yosef is dreaming, and Pari is dreaming, and everyone's having dreams. All the dreams occur in these week's parsha. This is the month of dreams. But in dreams, the Medrash says a difference, and it's clear from the Psukim also, that there's a very clear difference between, let's say, for example, the dream of Yosef versus the dream of Pari. That the dream of Pari is that he's a passive observer of his dreams. He sees a dream of cows, lean cows, fat cows, he sees stalks of grain, but he's observing it. When Yosef speaks about the dreams, and he speaks about the stalks of grain, he says, we're involved, we're in the field, and we're collecting the grains, and we're participating in the harvest of the grains. And the Zohar says this is the difference between Kedusha and Klippa. This is the difference between something that's holy and the opposite. That an unholy dream is a passive dream. It's, I have a dream that something will happen, that something will happen. And an active dream, which is a holy dream, Kedusha, the opposite of Kedusha is Achanas and Lechem. When they left Mitzrayim, they said, we remember the free bread that we ate. That was free. Everything's for free. Free is something that you're not participating in. That's Namanik Sufa, shameful bread. But Kedusha is something that you work on. And in terms of the dreams as well, like you have a dream, and for the dream and the hope and the trust of this possibility to occur, it's not just you can't just be passive about it and say, this is my sheifas, this is my desires, this is going to happen. But you have to make a kli, you have to make a vessel, and the vessel is the trust, but it's an act of trust. Famously the story is about the chassid that comes to Rebbe and gets a blessing for a child, and it doesn't help, and then another chassid comes and gets a blessing for a child, and it does help. And the Rebbe said because the chassid that got the other blessing, that received the child, went and bought a carriage for the baby, and they made a vessel, which means they had complete faith, not only that they dreamed and they hoped and they imagined that they're going to have a child, but they implemented it. They did something tangible for this. And on a more nafshistika level, on a more internal level, which is always more important, is that we have to make the space in our own, not just physically make the space for the dream to materialize, make a kli, make a vessel, but also make a vessel within our own selves and within our own consciousness. the Zohar talks about this idea of Isha Kitzazia, the Zohar Parshas Tazria. The Zohar says that what speaks about a woman that gives birth to a son. So the Zohar says that the pasuk says that she Kitzazia, she becomes pregnant, and then she gives birth. It doesn't say that she becomes, she becomes impregnated, and then she gives birth. It doesn't say that she's pregnant. Vahara doesn't talk about being pregnant. It doesn't talk about the process of being pregnant and then giving birth. And the Zohar says because the moment she desires to have a child, that's what she speaks about the whole time of having this child. What the Zohar is really saying, and if to translate a little differently, the Zohar is saying is the reason why this woman was blessed with a child is because she made the space within her own self for the possibility of a child to arise in her story. You know, a person says that struggling for a shidduch, for example, they're struggling to find a person that they should settle down with, and they're looking for it, and it's true, and they're dreaming about it, and it's true, it's all true. But they're not making the space within their own selves for that possibility. So even if it shows up, even if the opportunity shows up, they won't recognize it as an opportunity. They'll think it's the opposite of an opportunity. You know, you find this even this week's parsha, for example, a similar idea, where it talks about Toldus. It talks about the idea of that Yitzchak and Rivka are married for many years, and then it says they don't have children. Ki akara he, because she is barren, but the he is spelled Hey Vav Aleph, which is Kakara Hu, which is that he barren. There's a Korean Ksiv. There's a way it's written, the way it's pronounced. So it's written that he is barren, that Yitzchak is barren, and it's pronounced that she is barren. And the deeper understanding is that they're both barren. And then the pasuk says that Hashem answered Yitzchak, Loi, and she became pregnant. And Rashi says there's a reason why Hashem answered him and not her. But simply what the pasuk is saying without the medrash is that he was answered. And then the next thing is she becomes pregnant, and then it says Lama Zanochi. She says, why me? Which if you can read it, of course we're talking about the Imois, but if you can read it in a certain way, what this means is that Yitzchak prayed against his wife. He made the space within himself for the possibility of a child to come into his life, and therefore he was blessed. She also davened, which means that she also aspired and dreamed and imagined and hoped for a child, but she didn't make the space within herself. She was an akar within herself that didn't allow for the child to be, and therefore when she was blessed with a child, she says, why is it me? Which means she didn't recognize the blessing in that, in the possibility that she had, in what was given to her. She was blessed. She got her answer. It's almost like the person is saying, I'm looking for shidduch, and the guy is standing right in front of you, the woman is standing right in front of you. Because if you don't make the space within yourself, even if it appears and it's already full, and the blessing is already there, it can even feel like a curse sometimes. And the opening that we see with Rivka is Vayelech Lidus Hashem. She goes to Lidus Hashem. She goes to seek Hashem. It's not even what Hashem tells her. It's not even what the prophet tells her and Navi tells her. That she's going to have two kingdoms that are going to come from her belly. But the fact that she went to Lidrash, she went to seek, which means that she was open to see that there's a bigger picture, there's something's experiencing here, and that she's open to the birth, then she was able to give birth to these two healthy children that were shleimas, that were the healthy children. Because that's the way, this is what bitachon is. Bitachon is not just a passive hope that this is the way it's going to work out. And even an active hope that because I trust Hashem that it's all good and it's going to work out for the best, and it's going to. But I'm also doing something about it, not only externally, then I'm going to make the vessel, the kli for the blessing. Like the story of the Chashmonai, the famous story of this week's, of this month's episode of Hanukkah, where the reason why the miracle of Hanukkah occurred and the oil lasted for 8 days is because they sought to find the oil. They were lidrash. They were seeking to find the oil. That was the vessel. The vessel was that they made a kli. They made a vessel of their betachon. They trust that the miracle is going to happen, and they seek to find the oil. They went and sought to find the oil, which is that's the blessing. But on even a more nafshistic level, even more internal level, an inner level, it's the idea of making the space within yourself for the miracle to occur. To not only want something to happen, but to inwardly make that inner space for that miracle to occur. For the miracles that every person needs in their life, all the blessings that they need, physically and spiritually. And then, once we open ourselves up to the miracle to occur, and we're experience it, and we have the trust, and we already started the process, and we opened it up, and the thing started materializing. This is another important part of this whole idea is once that's open, we have to fully put trust that it's going to be, that is the right path. That we shouldn't have second doubts, we shouldn't have doubts. There's a certain thing like a person says, I trust this is going to be the right thing. I put my faith in this, that it's going to be the right thing, and I commit to this. But then, like a week later, I start thinking, like, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision, and maybe I should change my decision. That's a chasar, that's a lack in betachon. Just to see how the psukim, to see how Rashi reads this in last week's parsha, something very interesting. That Rashi writes that when Eliezer wants to know who's going to be the proper wife for his master Yitzchak. So he says the woman that's going to come and is going to feed and give water to me and to the camels. She's going to be the kind one. She's going to be the person. Okay, so he sees that this is what's happening, and she sees that this young girl. She sees that she's giving water to everybody, which means she's very kind and very compassionate. She sees this is the person. But the verse says, but the person was still bewildered, was still wondering whether this actually is this sign the right sign. He has like a sign. It's not really a sign. I don't think Martin Chulin says it's a sign. But it's not mamish. It's not literally a sign. It's almost like an indication. Like this is if you want to know if a person has good midas, has good attributes, and so if they act that way, so he's trying to find a nice wife for his master. So if she's a nice person, that's a sign. So it's not really a sign. Like if she walks 2 steps by 2 steps, that means it's the person. She's doing something kind. So it's a proof that she's a kind person. So he sees that she's kind. But he's still doubtful whether she's the right person. He's wondering if Hashem will bring him matzlacha. And then it says, when she finishes, right away when she finishes, giving water to all the camels, he right away gives her the gifts, and then asks her the question, "Who are you?" Which means before he finds out who he is, according to Rashi, some Midrashim say some Farshim say the other way around. But the literal reading of the Torah is that before he even finds out, he gives her the gifts and then asks her the question. So what does Rashi say? Rashi says, after he gave the gifts to her, he asked the question, because he was certain that in the merit of Avram, Hashem will bring him Hatzlacha, Hashem will grant him the correct success in his mission. But the verse before said that he was Mishtasei, he wasn't sure if Hashem is if Hashem is going to be successful in this path. And now right away he's sure? The answer is like this. This is important. Before he was still Sheikel Badas, he was still wondering. He didn't make up his mind 100% if she's the right girl. He wasn't sure. He wasn't sure. But the moment he made up his mind, nothing changed. Nothing changed between this verse and the last verse. She just finished. The verse literally says he's wondering whether she's the right girl for him. And the next verse says that he gives her the gifts and Rashi says because he was 100% sure that she's the right one. What that means is that the moment he decided rationally that this was the right girl, the right woman for his master, for Yitzchak, he put his complete trust in Hashem and said, this is going to work out. I don't even have to ask her name. I'm sure she's going to be the right one. Which means like this, translated into our own life, it means like this. We don't know what to do. We have different things that we have to be doing. Again, every single oddness, every single constriction in this world, every single situation, even the depth of Gehenna, the abyss. Every situation, God forbid a person should be in that level, but every single situation a person is in, there's always a ma, there's always a reason for there. There's always a reason, lama, towards what end. You're there for a purpose. There's something that you can glean from it. There's something you can do in that situation. There's always something to do. And once you decide to do, and you decide, let's say in an example, because that's just a very more colloquial and very general example. Let's say you decide, I don't know if this is the person I should be marrying. I don't know if this is the job I should take. Whatever, it's not the same equivalence, obviously. But once a person decides that this is the person, then they have to have complete trust that this is exactly the person. Never doubt themselves again. Never second guess themselves. Which means, because a lot of times the way people are is they trust that this is the thing, this is what they have to be doing. But it's very momentarily, because then 10 minutes later they have another thought. And we live in this world that everything is very transient, and everything is very temporary. So people jump from one thing to the next. And really, to trust means that I'm committed to this. This is what makes sense. This is what Hashem is showing me. This is the right path that I should be doing. This is the right place I should be living. This is the right person I should be living with. And then you have complete trust, betachan in that. Okay, that's what I want to say about the month of Kislev. That it's a month really that we can open ourselves up to truly experience the true miracles in our lives, in our chayim pratim, in our individual lives, in our collective life. That we should be blessed with all the miracles that we need to experience, and we should experience them. We should be blessed to have the moyach, the intelligence and the koyach and the strength, that in all the situations that we find ourselves in, and all the atnas, all the constrictions that we find ourselves, always to find the ma, always to find the what could I be doing in here? What is the purpose for me being here in this situation, in this reality, in this predicament? What could I be doing here? And if I can do that, that will break it open and allow me to see Hashem's light in a most revealed way.